Plan Toys posted a video under the underconsumption core trend showing off some of their wooden toys and how they're used. Now, that video didn't get many likes, and in fact, there was a comment from a user snarkily saying this: underconsume by buying more? Right. Consumers are not stupid. We cannot just market to them using a trend that they have coined intentionally to buy less stuff and try to trick them into thinking that our existing brands as they currently are fall into underconsumption core.
Welcome to Making It in the Toy Industry, a podcast for inventors, entrepreneurs, and makers like you. And now, your host, Azhelle Wade.
Hey there, toy people. Azhelle Wade here, and welcome back to another episode of Making It in the Toy Industry. This is a weekly podcast brought to you by thetoycoach.com. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not just relevant, but also eerily familiar. We are going to be talking about the rise of the underconsumption core trend. It's a movement that's been gaining serious traction among Gen Zers and millennials in 2024 on TikTok. And it's been driven by this high cost of living, widespread budgeting efforts across generations, and a growing desire to make every dollar count. This trend echoes what we saw in the 2008 recession when low-cost, high-value toys and games became the unsung heroes of the toy industry. But unlike 2008, today's consumers aren't just looking for cheap thrills, they're also being more selective, more mindful, and they're searching for products that provide lasting value. That is the heart of this underconsumption core trend. It does bear some striking similarities to the economic climate of 2008. Just as consumers tightened their purse belts during the recession, today's consumers are increasingly conscious of spending, and they're not afraid to talk about it widely online. Seeing reports on underconsumption, the looming potential financial crisis, high cost of living, homes and food prices being out of reach of so many Americans, student loans returning, it got me thinking, what does this mean for the toy industry? What can we prepare for, and what can we learn based on what happened in 2008? Now, if you've been following along with me and the blogs, you already know that there is huge opportunity currently in the arts and crafts space of the toy industry. That opportunity was born out of a major craft player being taken out of the game almost completely. That would be Alex Brands. They downsized, they changed a lot. They used to have a massive presence in the arts and crafts aisle, and it's not as big as it once was. So that created an opportunity, but we've also just seen consumer interest growing in arts and crafts products, even in that tween age. With that in mind, before I dive into my thoughts on what the underconsumption core could mean for the toy industry, we've got to look back at history, and man, was this a fun dive back into. By the end of today's episode, you are going to have a clear vision of what happened in the 2008 financial crisis and how it affected the toy industry compared to a few other industries. Then you're going to understand the underconsumption core trend, what it is, what it's driving. We'll talk about what this potential recession could cause a resurgence of desire for in the toy industry. And we'll talk about categories in the industry that are really positioned to thrive and how you might change your future strategy for what you're going to be releasing in the coming year if there is, in fact, a financial downturn. To get started, we've got to rewind to 2008. So in February of 2008, an article by NBC states, as economy fades, toy makers stress play value. NBC did a profile of what kinds of products the toy industry was releasing at this time. So we're talking top of 2008. We know something's coming, but it hasn't hit yet. Products are already in development. They're coming out. We can't pull back. What happened? Major manufacturers were releasing high-priced items at this time. Hasbro had a talking parrot for $69.99. Leapfrog had a tag reading system for $49.99. And VTech had a Wii Like joystick for $69.99, but those were actually the mid-price points in 2008. Some toy companies released products up to $300 range, including Hasbro's robotic golden retriever for $179.99 and Fisher-Price's Power Wheels car at $289.99. The toy industry was really hedging their bets at this time on high price point items, high innovation, heavy robotics, but that was early 2008. And analysts were saying parents are not going to be spending that kind of money on their kids. So what happened? So September 15th, the market crashes. Panic sets out on Wall Street. Everything is down. The stock markets tank. Everything's going under. Jobs are lost. Homes are lost. We are in the worst of financial times. At the start of the biggest quarter for the toy industry, Q4 is when the toy industry generates 70% of the revenue that we have over the year. And at that time is when the market tanks. So obviously, we're freaking out. Markets were terrible that year. Overall retail dropped by 3.6%, according to a CNBC article, which we will link in the show notes. Toy industry sales dropped 3%. Building sets and plush saw a respective growth of 26 and 22%, while vehicles were actually down 16%. Youth electronic sales fell 14%, and dolls dropped 10%. So what this calls me back to is during COVID, we did see the rise of Squishmallows and other comfort plush. So it does seem that in a panic, whether it's societal, emotional health, or financial panic, plush have got the power. From my perspective, things like Beanie Bouncers and, of course, Jazzwares Squishmallows and the FX Stitch could be perfectly poised if we do enter some sort of financial crisis in the coming year. Now, back to looking at 2008. Licensed toys represented 27% of toy industry sales. Things like Barbie, Crayola, Star Wars, and Webkinz came out on top. Licensing is everything. There's power in that connection, that IP, and that can help withstand something like this major financial crisis. Let's go to 2009. The US toy market was $21.47 billion in retail sales. It's down less than 1% from 2008 numbers. We're not back at our 2007 numbers, but only down 1% after a major financial crisis is not bad at all. What allowed us to stay afloat? What worked, basically? Why were people spending? What were they spending on? We look at the super categories. Building sets up 23%. Arts and crafts up 7%. I've worked in arts and crafts in the toy industry since the beginning of my career, starting at Horizon Group USA, going to Blumenthal Lansing, and moving over to working in arts and crafts at Toys R Us, and then working with Creative Kids on their arts and crafts line. Arts and crafts and building sets have this open-ended play pattern and extended entertainment value and an attractive price point that aligns with the consumer needs when we are in times of financial struggle. There were other categories that increased as well in 2009. Including action figures, which were up 4%, which I assume was led by the power of IP, and then games and puzzles, which were up 1%. Now today, games and puzzles is a huge category for the toy industry. I would venture to guess that if we had a larger offering of games and puzzles at this time, that would have been one of the super categories as well. This does make me think about my theory toy math, where we are combining different categories to create a super category. As we look at potential financial struggle and crisis for our consumers moving forward, what if we combine arts and crafts and games and puzzles? Can we perhaps create something that not only brings families together and creates laughs and humor like games, while having the open-ended and extended entertainment value of crafts? What can we do there? What's really interesting about this 2009 report is what happened to electronics. In the toy industry, we're always like, oh, we have to get more digital. But in 2009, electronic toys saw the largest decline, 17% compared to 2008, followed by plush. I wonder if the reason for the decline in electronic toys was primarily cost, because the majority of the plush being sold were electronic plush. That's why there was a dip in that category. There wasn't really a focus on low price point collectible plush like we do have today. Okay, let's move on. To get a clearer picture of what we were thinking was vibing in the toy industry in 2009, I want to take a look at the Toady winners. So Toady are the Toy of the Year awards. They offer awards in a variety of categories. Let's take a look at the 2009 Toady winners. The top of the chain Toy of the Year was Bakugan Battle Brawlers, the Spin Master product. That was a license that was huge that year. The other winners are Crayola Color Wonder Magic Brush. Oh, I do remember that. Bakugan Battle Brawlers Battle Pack. Leapfrog Tag Reading System. Fur Real Friends Biscuit, My Love and Pup by Hasbro, and then Bananagrams, the game. Additionally, Playmobil Horse Farm, as well as Elmo Live by Fisher Price, and Air Hogs Zero Gravity Micro by Spin Master, Crayola 3D Sidewalk Chalk by Crayola, and then Bakugan actually won Property of the Year, and then Create Your Own Pop-Up Book Set by Creativity for Kids, Azhelle, was also a winner in 2009. A lot of arts and crafts, so that actually does support the theory that there weren't a lot of other plush options besides electronic toys, and seeing the Toady winners and most of them not being electronic on their own, aside from the two electronic plush, we can see it wasn't really electronics driving sales. It was more arts and crafts. Crayola had 2 wins in this category, and then Faber-Castell had a win. So there are 3. Yeah, and then 3 of the wins are IP. So very interesting. So we're seeing IP and arts and crafts really led the charge in 2009. Now, in 2010, retail sales in the toy industry actually increased 7% in 2010 from 2009. And the price points consumers love the most in this time of turmoil, the $5 to $10 price point. What we can learn from what happened from 2008 is how consumers are likely to react if there is another financial downturn, how they might not buy anything until Q4, and how we need to be ready with discounts at that time. We can see how they're likely to focus on arts and crafts and building sets. We can surmise that there is a huge opportunity in plush that offers real play value, not just a cuddle plush, but deeper play value. I'd once reported on Beanie Bouncers, where Ty just released this plush Beanie Baby that combines outdoor play. So it's a plush and a ball in one. So how can we create plush that really combine play patterns and keep it at an affordable price point? Knowing there is economic instability, our consumers are becoming more discerning. Consumers are drawn to high quality, multi-use products. Let's talk about what's happening right now. And this underconsumption core trend, what is it? Why should you care about it in the toy industry? Underconsumption core is a movement on TikTok. And this demo is very aware of the environmental and financial impact of over-consumerism. They are shifting away from product hauls, which are like these giant purchases and run-throughs of new products for brands. Instead, they're opting for items that are durable, versatile, and built to last. This is a trend driven by economic pressure, yes, but also a growing awareness of sustainability and mindfulness in consumption. What's happening on TikTok is this. Users are posting videos of products that they use around their house that are reused or thrifted, products that were used in the past for another purpose, being used for a new purpose today. They're showing off the fact that these products are old and being used and repurposed for years. So recently, Underconsumption Core has made its way to Toy Talk. Now, all the Underconsumption Core videos, for some reason, have the audio of Norah Jones's "Don't Know Why I Didn't Come for some reason. But you're listening to Norah Jones and looking at a video of this person's home and seeing the product that they say equates to an underconsumption core. User Christina stated she loves this trend and is sharing thrifted wooden toys, bamboo PJs that have been reused and passed down for generations, thrifted baskets to store toys in, and reused juice containers that were juice bottles at one point and now being reused for water, milk, juice, etc. She also shows images of baby accessories that are being bought secondhand because the babies go through them so quickly. People are loving underconsumption core specifically for the baby side of the toy business. And a lot of the users are priding themselves on quality over quantity, as is the heart of the underconsumption trend. So far, I've only found one toy company trying to use the underconsumption core trend in their marketing, and that is Plan Toys. Plan Toys posted a video under the underconsumption core trend showing off some of their wooden toys and how they're used. Now, that video didn't get many likes, and in fact, there was a comment from a user snarkily saying this: underconsume by buying more? Right. Yeah, so that just tells us that our consumers are not stupid. We cannot just market to them using a trend that they have coined intentionally to buy less stuff and try to trick them into thinking that our existing brands as they currently are fall into underconsumption core. We cannot just show any wooden toy, any natural toy, any high quality toy and just say this is underconsumption core. That is not at all going to cut it. What we need to do instead is understand why our consumers care about underconsuming, what that means, and then market products that align with their values. When you look through TikTok and underconsumption core, you will see someone that buys something and considers it as underconsumption is someone who is looking at a product and seeing how it can live in their home, live on their shelves, live in their life, and have multiple uses. Something outside of the toy industry to look at is one user posted about a water bottle that she uses for all of her liquids. One user talked about a coat that she's had for 5 years. With toys and games, we'll talk about the basket instead of a toy box. Other users will speak about how they've thrifted all of their toys and they haven't bought any. It is a challenge for us in the toy industry because we cannot ignore things like this. We do have to think about, okay, what does this mean for our industry? Are people going to think that we are no longer needed and valued? I don't think so. Here's why. In the toy industry, the trend for underconsumption core could actually manifest into a demand for toys that are built to last and offer multiple forms of play. For example, craft kits from companies like Project Joy Studios that encourage kids to create museum quality art could be a hit. These kits not only offer unique creative expressions each time, but also result in artwork could be displayed or cherished for years to come. High quality wooden toys that are meant to last and be passed down. A toy that can help you learn and a toy that can help you play. Really thinking about how our products can live in different areas of our consumers' lives is going to make it more appealing to them. I believe that this underconsumption trend is going to encourage us in the toy industry to think about the use of our products, making sure they're high quality enough to be used in multiple scenarios and by multiple ages of children or family members. I believe it's going to become even more important to show the timeline or life cycle of a product to our consumers. If you look at the way that we normally do packaging in the toy industry, we normally show the product and a kid of one age, 2 genders, maybe 2 races, playing with that product. What we might need to shift into doing in the toy industry is now on the packaging, marketing materials, show kids of multiple ages playing with the product, or showing an older kid handing off the product to a younger kid to give the story to the parent that this is a product that you can pass down for generations, to have copy on our packaging, on our websites to say high quality product that can last for generations. In this surge of underconsumption, what is most important is going to be the companies that have a reputation with consumers for high quality. Because when those companies come out with something brand new and innovation, something they say you don't have this in your toy box and you need it, consumers are more likely to trust the company that has graced their home with high quality products rather than things that immediately broke, ended up in the landfill, didn't make their homes beautiful or aesthetic. So that is what we should be focusing on for underconsumption. The underlying movement and mission of our customers, our ideal target market. What do they want? What are we not delivering that they feel they need to not buy new toys? They feel it's better for them to buy thrifted. What is it that we are not delivering to them in our messaging and product development? Now, one thing parents may not think about when they're buying these thrifted products, while yes, they are more affordable, you actually don't know the current safety status of those products. When products are recalled, they're pulled off shelves. But when products are recalled that are in thrift stores, they're not as closely monitored or regulated. So you don't actually know the safety of a toy you're buying from a thrift store. Not only that, but toys in thrift stores don't have the complete packaging, right? So they don't have the messaging that tells you, is this safe for this age or that age? How do you use it? Pieces can be broken, missing. There is some cause for concern that consumers are going to thrift stores for certain toy products. They may not be safe for certain ages. What does that mean for the reputation of that toy company whose products in this thrift store being bought secondhand? And now, if the consumer experience with that product is poor, are they going to relate that back to that company? They might. It's not a fair representation because that company would have never sold you something used or broken in that way. It's just an interesting thing that we need to think about moving forward. So the underconsumption core trend, this mindfulness in spending, it does bear striking similarities to the economic climate of 2008. It seems like consumers are tightening their belts before the economy does it for them. We've been here before, and we are going to slow the roll. We're going to save our money and buckle up because we think something is coming down the pike. If we don't have a big financial meltdown, if we just have a little bit of dip, what should we be prepared for moving forward? What I'm predicting might happen is that this underconsumption core trend that is currently rooted in a real desire to reuse, save money, save the planet, could evolve into an underconsumption core aesthetic. Back in the 2000s, there was a huge trend for ripped jeans. And I remember seeing all these girls in tattered jeans. Sometimes I thought, oh, those look cool. It was the trend at the time. So I wonder if underconsumption core will lead us to an almost weathered and used aesthetic for toys and games. I know that sounds crazy. Why on earth would anybody want weathered toys? Listen, weirder things have happened, okay? If you go on and you look through these underconsumption core videos, you will notice a consistent aesthetic for the toys. It is very beige and brown because they tend to be a lot of wooden toys. The aesthetics that could arise from this once the financial concerns are handled is one of a weathered wood look for wooden toys, a kind of distressed plastic effect on our toys. That's a look we haven't seen before that I could see being ushered in by this underconsumption core trend. I do think that could be the outcome if we do not go into a financial downturn. Now, if we do go into a financial downturn, what do we learn from the past? How do we prepare for that as far as the products and assortments that we're developing for 2025 and beyond? It's about not buying in excess. If we look at what did really well, in 2008, that's when products like Silly Bands first made it onto the scene. We also know that's when building sets, arts and crafts kits all grew and were bubbling to the surface. Economic downturn is a really good time for toy sales in dollar stores and places like Dollar Tree and mass discounters like Big Lots. And it's also a really great time for novelty products like Silly Bands and opening price point products for toy lines in general. If we look at the blueprint of what Silly Bands left behind, Silly Bands was a low price point novelty item in 2008, just in time for that financial downturn. You could buy a lot, even if you didn't have a lot of money, and get a collectible feel. So if we're moving into 2024 with a potential financial crisis, consumers are aware that consuming is not it. What do we produce as the toy industry that will keep our revenues up, keep our industry afloat. So is it that we need to create more physical products where the consumption is actually a digital arm? Like we have some companies already entering the Roblox world with their brands. Zuru Toys has a Roblox strategy. MGA has had some things in Roblox, as well as, I believe, Jazzwares and Squishmallows. Is it that we offer a high quality, mid-price point toy in the physical toy aisle, and then low price point add-ons or expansions that somehow add to that physical toy element in a digital world, whether it's Roblox, an independent app, or a website, some sort of add-on that consumers buy. That way, if there is an economic and underconsumption core stays around for a while, the consumption turns digital and thereby no longer has that negative environmental impact that underconsumption core followers are trying to avoid. But it still allows for that collectible energy and that hype that the toy industry thrives on in times of economic downturn, especially when they arise in our Q4 era. Now, today's consumers, particularly younger generations, are more likely to prioritize experiences over material possessions. So we as toy companies have to think about how are we communicating the experience that you will have with our toy product, whether on the box, the Amazon page, or our website. There has to be a clear understanding and experience to be had once the product is purchased. For retailers, what is the experience of purchasing that product? All of these experiences are more and more important to our consumer because it's all a part of their daily life. If we look at our toy lines, how can we focus on experiential play? Toys that encourage creativity, problem solving, and social interaction with family members, which is why our games categories are doing so big, but also prioritizing sustainability. Can we offer more eco-friendly and ethically produced toys, or have partnerships that make recycling or donating products easier because our consumers are thinking about the life cycle of products they're buying? Where is this going to be in my house in 5 years? We need to answer that question. Asking it prevents them from buying it at all. We got to think about developing hybrid products. Toys that combine digital and physical play elements is a way we can thrive in this underconsumption core trends. The current underconsumption core trend aligns with broader consumer shifts towards sustainability and conscious spending. So it is essential that we pay attention to how this is going to impact consumer behavior and spending habits moving forward. Interestingly, we discussed arts and crafts. That category stands out. It appeals to both sides of the spectrum, those looking for high quality goods and those looking for entertainment at a low price. For high quality trend, arts and crafts can provide a unique experience every time. Every product can result in something new and meaningful, making it a worthwhile investment, even a social investment for their family. For the budget conscious consumers, those can offer extended playtime and creativity at a reasonable cost, which is a major selling point in economic downturns. One quick example, Moon Sand by Spin Master, it became popular in 2008 and provided endless creative possibilities and was marketed as a mess-free and reusable product that could be molded into various shapes, offering long-term value at a low cost. Today, we explored how the underconsumption core is driving demand for high-quality multi-use products, particularly among high-income consumers. We talked about how financial strain could lead to a resurgence of low-price novelty toys selling out in our industry because those are best for budget-conscious families. We also highlighted the arts and crafts category as a unique segment that appeals to both sides of the coin, both those looking for high quality and low cost, because it offers creativity and value. And we also talked about what could happen from the underconsumption core, how it might lead to an entirely new graphic aesthetic or product aesthetic for our toys. So the question I want to leave you with today is this: are we about to head into a consumer-led recession because of this trend? A precession, if you will, one not led by actual financial downturn, but led by consumers' refusal to spend their money in the reckless ways of the past. What impact will it have on the toy industry? Will we raise all of our prices collectively to maintain our revenue and industry growth? Or will we just wait out this trend? And if you want to read some of the reports that I quoted in this episode, head over to thetoycoach.com/232. And if you love this podcast and already left us a review, what are you waiting for? Your reviews mean so much to me. They keep me coming back week after week with new episodes just for you. So please, wherever you're listening, even if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. That means so much. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, scroll down, look for where you can give a rating, give us that 5-star rating, and leave us a review. Let me know what you think. I read reviews on the show. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I know your time is valuable and that there are a ton of podcasts out there, so it truly means the world to me that you tune into this one. Until next week, I'll see you later, toy people.
Thanks for listening to the Making It in the Toy Industry podcast with Azhelle Wade. Head over to thetoycoach.com for more information, tips, and advice.